Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are gonna see an important project. Here you could see that we are gonna design exchange rate app, like we are gonna develop an app which converts the currency exchange. So in this project, I'm gonna use web APIs, which is very important for JavaScript, and I'm gonna show it to you in a very easy way so that you could access data from any APIs in the web and you could like manipulate them in your own use. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna design an exchange rate app just like a mobile. If you're having an app application in your mobile and whenever you click it, it's gonna open. So just look into it. It's very basic. It would be very easy. Just understand the concept. In JavaScript, everything is easy until like unless you understand the concept. It would be very easy if you would understand and go deep in it rather than just like understanding the just scratching the surface and then you won't be able to get into the depth. So that's why please understand the concept that I'm teaching and please try it in your own way too. And don't worry about the images or anything else because I've just taken it from Google to just make projects, but you can add any images or anything. And I'm gonna give you some links too for accessing the Axios delivery code or even the exchange rate app API. I'm gonna provide the links in the below the video. Please find them and please enjoy the video. Thank you. So right now you could see that I'm having an image over here and whenever I'm hovering on it I could see the cursor pointer. So when I click here, just like in your mobile, we come into our exchange rate app and it's a very basic one. It's just a project where I'm gonna show you how to design or how to use web APIs in your project actually using Axios. We are gonna use Axios instead of Fetch because Axios is more likely used in modern days nowadays. So, and it's like more usually it's available in all the browsers and it's better than Fetch. So, and it's also very easy to use Axios. So here you could see that we are having a USD, we are having all the currency over here, and we are having different currencies. I'm gonna show you how you get these currencies too, so don't worry about it. And I'm having an image, header, heading, and everything. So these are the basics which we have already seen in our previous projects. The only thing we have to worry is the this one, the USD, the input and the output currency and the output value. So if I'm using some, if I need some USD, so you could see that we have the default USD in this Canadian dollar because I have selected it as a default. I will show you how to select it as default too. It's not the we like only the first one, which is usually here you could see it's AED, but it's not mandatory that it should be the first, but we could provide any default value in the same way here too. So if I'm like using USD and if I'm providing with any other currency, for example, maybe Euro, if I'm selecting Euro, you could see that our value has changed here. In the same way, if we select any other currency, so it means that $1 is equal to 0.814 euros. In the same way, if I select like how about Canadian, it's 1.2747. So in the same way, if I press the swap button, these currencies will change and the values will change accordingly. So just look into it as I'm pressing, and also while I'm hovering on it, or it's you could see that I'm having a pointer cursor. So this is how we are gonna style in CSS. And so when I press this one, we could see that $1 Canadian is equal to 0.7846 US dollars. So swap is used for that. You can modify this, but I'm just making this particular project in a basic way such that you could understand the web APIs in a very simple manner. it's actually very easy to use the Axios, and I want you to make it look more easier such that you won't be disappointed every time you use the web APIs. And this is actually very important in interview point of view. Like in most of the interviews, they would ask you to access the information or the data through web APIs, and this one would be very useful. This project would be very useful as a basic stuff to know about web APIs. So let us continue with our project. So I have already defined the files for my thing, and I'm just gonna tell you which are the files. So this one is the file for my index.html. So if I just do the same thing as we defined in the last one, and I'm gonna give it as a name of exchange rate app. And what do we need here? An image whose source. I've already included the images. It doesn't matter, you could include any image, whatever you want. So I'm gonna go with app icon here, which is mine, which I've searched it from Google. So it's your default, whatever you like, you could put. It doesn't matter here. And I'm gonna just use maybe h1 exchange rate app. I'm just gonna see if it's opening with my live server. Yes, you could see that we got our image and maybe our heading too. Yes, we just have to design this. So how about first of all the basic one, which is box sizing should be equal to border box. And now I'm gonna define the display for this one. Display will be flex, and I want to put it in the center, so it will be justify content center, and align content align item center, and the minimum height 100 view height, sorry. So first of all, I have to define this image. So what I'm gonna do is like mention a class for this one particular app image, maybe app. Yeah, app is fine, and I'm gonna just find the dimensions of this one such that it comes as the size which we want. So maybe 300 pixels. Is it okay? Or maybe 300 pixels height. 100 pixels. Oh, okay. First of all, I forgot. Wait, I forgot to to first link. So I was wondering like why. So it is my styles.css. Okay, now it is linked, so we need not worry. So where it's what was the class? It's app. Okay, so dot app. It is gonna be, if we define the width, maybe 300 pixels. It would compress now. Yeah, perfect. And since it's in the same one, if I define the display as block, it would go into the app with display block. Then I have to define this header to. Oh wait, I have to display block. It's flag, so display block. Oh, how about on the, also regarding the image, I forgot to include the link actually. So since when we'll be clicking the image, we need to go to the inner currency converter. So I have to include a link, and inside the link, I would be including the image. So what I need to do is just copy paste it here, and maybe if I could define the class here with the image, it would be good. So um, so whenever if we are like hovering on the image, we could see that we could like literally click it. So the H reference means that whenever I'm clicking the link, where do I need the next page to open? And we already know that we want to go to about that HTML, where we would have our main currency exchange. So I would just, and you could see that you already got suggestions. And whenever you won't be having suggestions, you could actually press Control plus space sometimes for suggestions. If I'm not having something like I have just pressed A and I'm not having any suggestions, and if I'm like pressing Control plus space, you could see that I'm having some suggestions over here. So regarding this, now if I'm gonna style this, I'm just gonna remove this display block, and so it's gonna be how about if I reduce this one too? And is it okay? About that HTML class app. Okay. What I need to do is dot app image, because I'm like styling the image here. So we are having everything. Do we want it in the next one? Next. Okay, yeah. So we usually want the exchange rate app to come down side. So maybe what we do is like I've already included this, and how about what is it H2? How about if I make it as H2? Okay. So if I'm defining H2's display as block, as since it's an inline now, so I want to make it inline block. It's instead of doing this inline block and everything, how about we just define the flex direction over here as, so the default one, usually the flex directions default value is row. So if we just press it in column, we get everything column wise. So you could see that we are having here in the column wise. So it would be the best option for the header to commit in the next way, next line, a new line, instead of defining the display block. So I just got this idea suddenly. So yeah, this one would be the best option to define the flex direction. Usually whenever you wanna, the flex direction default is row, but you want the things to be in a columnly manner, it would be better to like define it in a column base. So yeah, so we're done with this one, and the next thing we want is like we could see here, whenever we are pressing this particular image link, we would be transferred to about that HTML. So now we have to design about that HTML. And before I forget, I need to include the script over here. Maybe not, but just as a procedural way, I would like to include it in every HTML. And here too, I have to include the link for CSS, because I always forget it, so I would just do it beforehand. So links.style styles.css, I have done everything. Okay, and I would also change the currency converter, the title for this one. So as you could see, whenever I'm hovering, you could see the pointer, and I'm now gonna click, and we are gonna come to our about that HTML, which is written over here. And it's, you could see that we are having our currency converter app like we are inside our app now, where you could see our currency converter. And if we come back, we could see her exchange rate app. So it is very easy. You just so I guess you got the concept. If not, please comment in the please comment so that I could explain it in my next video, or I could like reply back to you in the comments. So whenever I'm pressing this, so we are coming back to here. So this one is our main project. So what we need is an image right now. So first of all, I'm gonna make divs for this particular thing. So this particular image and the header will be in one div. This currency and the input will be in another div. This swap a new div, and this one, the last one, would be in another div. So the first thing I'm gonna define is a div with the container like and the whole container for a div. So a container for a div, and then I'm gonna define the header, maybe the header defining the image. Source would be this one, and I'm gonna define another exchange rate converter. I think we could see in our project now. So this one is our image, and we could see exchange rate converter. So I'm gonna style it right now such that I don't have any headache in the future. So it is our header image. So we're gonna have it in the same way. It's just header image, yeah. So header image, yeah, and also since I want to do another thing, so as I define the header class for this one, I want the things to be in center, and the best thing is to display as flex and just align the items in the center. And to align it horizontally, we'll be using justify content. So if I'm having the or how about I define the whole container display flex with maybe I would just define the header justify content center with my flex direction. I think I should define. Maybe I think first of all I need to define it. I have to see the word. So I have did I define the word? It would be better if we define the word of our container. So I wanna do our container for maybe 250 pixels, and if we could just see our container, it would be 2 pixels solid black. Right now this is our container, the whole app, and what I'm defining, and also I want some padding, maybe 10 pixels. Yeah, okay. So I want to define my header too inside of that, which would be the same. I'm defining it for the whole 100%, and I want the things to be in center. So if I just like place the things like and in the center, I would just like text a line first of all for my things. Yep, everything is in center now, and maybe I need to define a bit more, like how about 500, or is it too big? Maybe 450. Yeah, 450 was perfect, I guess. It looks actually good. Okay, so it is perfect. And I'm gonna have this border too as a new one. Do we need border? No, but I think it would look good. But okay, we could decide it at the end. So we already got our header and everything. Now what we need to do is we need to include this. We need to start this with our USD and everything. And before that, I want you to know where we do this. So I have like if we go to this particular website, exchangerate.api.com, and when you come down, I'm gonna include this link in the video below the video. Please check it out. And when you come here, you could see that you could get a free key just by registering your email ID. After registering, you need to confirm too in your email that you to activate your account. Then you would get a free API just like this. You would get a free API key. Then if you click this API key, you would be coming to another where you could see that the base code is USD and the conversion rates are given. So you need to write everything this down, every value of this one. This codes, only the codes, just like here. I would just show you how are we writing this one so that you would get an idea. So we need to know all the currency uh, and we need to access this particular API here, this particular API. So what we are gonna do is like I'm gonna show you how. So this is how I'm gonna write all the particular currency. So I'm gonna show copy paste this in the. It took me like 45 minutes to write everything, so that's why I'm not writing it again. But you could always find it in the particular API. So the next div which I'm gonna define is my currency number one, or maybe the currency, and I'm gonna use select for this particular select option. I'm gonna use select. So you see that I have defined everything, and I'm gonna make the selected one as euro instead of cat. So we could put anything as default just by mentioning selected as here. So if you could see, we have already got our USD input over here. So we could define anything just like this. So now I have defined the first input. Also, what I need to define is another. So this one is a select option where I could select different currencies here, where I could have any number of options and everything. You just need to write the options right inside. Now I need to include a particular input for my other field, which is this one. So what I would do is just include input as number, and I want the value to be 1 at first. And did we get that? Yeah, you could see that we already got it, and as the input is a type of number, we could see that we could increase the values too over here. So then I'm gonna copy paste it for my second one. It's the same one in the second. So, oops, it's the same one in the second. So I'm just gonna copy paste, and we just have a swap button in between. So this one I would just copy, and before that I would just define a swap. So with the swap, with the class of maybe swap button, and then I would just do the same thing, but the new thing what I'm gonna change the class for my second one. I'm gonna just put it as converted currency, and I'm gonna give the ID for this one as maybe value 2, and for the first one as value 1 or value 1. So I think we got both everything. So we have got our the basic raw, and we need to style this one now. So we are done with everything in the HTML section. So we have linked the styles.css. Did we include the script? Yeah, we already included the script too. So we could move to our CSS now. And the first thing which I'm gonna do is so here in our app, we could see that we have two select options, one button, and two input. So what I could do is I could select the select and define, just look at it if I'm able to define the border radius as 50%. Yeah, we could see that we are able to define it. So what I'm gonna do is what do we have here? So we have a padding of maybe 10 pixels. No, not 10. I think it's 5. Yeah, 5 looks good. Okay. And also border radius of 5 pixels, maybe 7. So 7 is good. And I think there's some font too. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the same, go to my Google and select the font. So I think I didn't select anything right now, so I would select this font. It looks okay. So I'm just gonna copy paste this to my, and just write on the font family too. Maybe we got it. Yep, we already got our, and I would like to, first of all, I'm seeing that USD is the base value for this one too, so I just want to change it to CAD. Selected USD. What I need to do is just include selected such that it would be the default value before we could see that we already got the CAD. So now what we are gonna do is we are gonna include our margin, maybe 10 pixels, and how about and I also want to this style the input. So first of all, I would like to define the width as maybe 40 pixels. Is it enough? No, because we might have some 4 to 5 decimals, so maybe 70. 70 is fine. Yeah, and then I also wanted to go to the end, so I'm just gonna put the text align as right. I'm gonna do another thing as we already defined the diff for these things. So the class for the first currency is currency. Okay, so I want to try a new thing. I think it would be fun. So this would be currency, and I'm gonna define a display of flex inside the currency, and the flex direction to be row. Well, I need not make it as row because it's all obvious that it's a row. So now what I want to do is I want to include this this one in the first and this one at the end. So if we are having this currency class and I'm just using the justify content as maybe space between, so we could see here that we have some space in between the two, the select option and the input. So in this way we could like have some space in between them. And if I put this for the same thing for my other one, which is converted currency, maybe, is that the thing? Yeah, you could see that we are having the same thing for this one too. And so that's how we could do the new thing, as putting the things at the end, and then the input, maybe the margin, right, as some like 50 pixels. And maybe here margin left like 30 pixels. It looks fine now. And since text align right, I want the background of this one to be transparent, so we don't, and the border to be 0. But also whenever I'm focusing, I don't want to see the background, so I would just put the focus mode on. I would just use the border 0 and the outline 0 whenever I'm focusing it. And you could see that whenever I'm focusing it, I would just see the number and everything. And what I want is to like increase the font weight too for this one, maybe bolder. And is that okay, or do we want anything else? That's fine. And that's perfect. And we need to style the swap button. What was the class for this one? So for this swap, so we have swap button. So swap button, if I'm like having first of all a margin of maybe 20 pixels, maybe it would be better if I press the swap, if I put the swap in the middle. So how about uh, the swap to come in the we want the swap to be in the middle, like here I placed it in the here, but I want to be here in this particular project. How about we use the same thing as display flex, or I would use this particular div and I would define the display. That would be better. It would be just a good practice for you in the field of display flex. So you would just see that right now. First of all, I want the swap to, like, I want you to look at the swap, the border for this one, so that you would have an idea like where we are like placing our button. We could see that our border is our swap class is this much big. So now we have displayed it as flex. So after this, I'm just gonna justify the content so that it place it in the middle. So justify content usually puts it in the middle in the horizontal. So you could just see that whenever I'm pressing the center, it would go in the middle. So I do not need this border now. So we could see that we already have this one. And how about if I just put the margin as maybe 30 pixels here? So that's perfect now. That's perfect for a swap button. And what we need is like to design the button itself. So the swap button would be, I just want some padding, maybe 5 pixels, and some border radius of um 10 pixels. I want the padding to be a little big, 7. Yeah, 7 is perfect. And I would also want the same font style. Where's the font style? Yeah, font family. Yeah, here. Okay, so I would like to have the same font style. Um, and I want some spacing between the letters. So um, maybe 2 pixel spacing. Is that fine? Yeah, 2 pixel is perfect. And also we could see that these are in the color of like green, which are usually taken from the money color. Uh, I So I just like tabbed in Google like money color hex code. So we could see that this is the money color hex code here. We are just gonna copy paste in our project. So background color, and also maybe in our exchange rate converter, header h2 text color, or maybe I would just define. How about I just define here color as, yeah, perfect. I just want it to be a little bit dark. Perfect. I think we are ready with everything. It's just some different font and everything, but it doesn't matter. Uh, please don't care about the font style, and everything depends on the person, whatever he wants. What we mainly need is the logic and how we are going to use the logic. The other things can vary depending on the person. We could just it depends on the experience, or some people want things in different ways. So please don't care about the other things like the font style or anything. It's very easy to change all those things. Just go to the Google font and select your preferred style. So what now we are gonna do is like we are gonna move to our JavaScript, which is the main thing. And so we need to access 5 things over here. So the first thing would be the first two things would be our currencies, two currencies, the currency and the converted currencies, and the amount in the input and the output value, and the swap button. So I'm gonna define the same in the same way. So document the query selector, and what was the ID? It was value 1 for this one. So I'm gonna just take this value 1. So since it's an ID, I have to include hash, and if I define the second term in the same way, the second one was value 2, and I would like to put it as a converted currency. So yep, and now we want the input value. So what if we give any class or ID to our input value? Um, let's see. So let's provide it with a class of maybe input, and then the next one with the class of output. Output. So since it's a class, I would just like input, and the next one as output. I also need to access the swap button. So I think we already provided a class for the swap button, which is like this. Okay, so I'm gonna just use it as swap document dot query selector. So we are able to access everything. So what we want right now is like to whenever we are changing these buttons. So I want first of all, okay. So first of all, I would like to show you how we are gonna access the API. So whenever I'm going to this particular site, you just so I'm gonna include this in the below video. So you just need to register your email ID and please confirm your this particular link in your email too, such that your account is activated and you would get the API in this way. So then you would be getting the API in this way, and whenever so for this to access like and okay, so we got the API. Now we need to get the Axios delivery code. So I'm using this particular GitHub repository to like use the access delivery code. Sorry, to delivery code of my Axios. So I'm gonna just copy paste this one in my HTML. I have to put it before the script. I can put it anywhere, but it should be before the script. So now I'm gonna include this link too. So please go through it, and I can use my Axios right now. So if I use this Axios, so how it would look, I'm gonna use it in my project. So if I just copy paste my and axios.get, so you could see that I'm able, this one is my API, and I'm using axios.get. So this one is like one of the things where we could have get, post and everything, but since we are taking the information from this particular API, web API. So I'm gonna use the get option, the get request. So there are different requests for this one, like get, post, so many different things which I'm gonna talk about later in my JavaScript classes, which I'm gonna start after the projects. So since I'm using this access that get, so output for this one would be a promise. So the people who already know the JavaScript might be well aware of promises in JavaScript. So whenever I'm using access, the output would always be a promise. So in the promise, you could see that I'm having an object with the data, and in the data, we could see the conversion rates, and we have the conversion rates and the base value is USD, as we included the USD here, and the conversion rates for all the other currencies. So I'm going to use this data in my particular thing. So I'm going to show how we are going to use this. So first of all, I'm gonna use this whenever I'm changing the inputs. So right now, I'm gonna add event listener for everything. So currency dot add event listener. Since it's a select option, so whenever this option is changing, I have to. So whenever this option is changing, I'm gonna use application called convert. So sorry, I'm gonna use the application which is usually our callback function convert. So I'm gonna define the convert here. And in the same way, I would be defining it for my second currency, which is our converted currency. So change convert, and for input field, so there's a for whenever our input field will change. So instead of change, it would be input, such that whenever I'm changing the values, it would accordingly change the event and everything. So for the input, I'm gonna add input. So now we are ready with everything. So we just need to mention the converter over here. So are we having any error? Yes, 9. Oh, it's constant. Okay, now we are ready. So what we need to do is, first of all, access the API. First of all, I want to define the API axios dot get, and since we already included the script here for the axios, I'm able to use the axios now in my project. So where is our API? So this one is our API. I'm just gonna copy paste and paste here. So if I am console.log current dot data dot conversion rates, so please see that we are able to see now. We will be able to see all the conversion rates as soon as we, if I'm running my function over here. So we should have all the conversion rates in the USD in the for cannot read property conversion rates. Wait, what was the data? Like, let me see the Axios promise data conversion rates. Okay, so we are getting error. So first of all, let me see if I'm able to access my web API. So if I'm typing the function, okay, so I'm able to get the current value as a object data and everything. So what I want is like maybe the current dot data. So if I'm using the convert option, so it's still okay, no, so as our promise is pending. So wait, I forgot to use the async await function over here. So I usually want to use the async await function here. And now let me see if I'm able to get it. Okay, now we are able to get everything. So yeah, but I forgot to tell you, like whenever I'm using the Excels, it would be better, like because the output would be a promise. So async await function is the best option to use for a promise, because it would be waiting until the promise is successful. So that's why we would be using async await function over here. So if I am like, you could see that I am able to get the conversion rates and everything. Now I want to access this conversion rates. Am I able to do it? Now let me check if, yep, we are getting our conversion rates now perfectly. All right, so it's perfect now. So what we want is that, so we are successful in accessing our axios and everything. So what we want is, like, we could see here that the conversion is based on this particular value. So this USD should be actually this particular input over here. So we can have here is like, first of all, I need to, since you know that the currency is actually the select option over here, so we want to have maybe the current is equal to currency's value, currency dot value, its value. I use currency dot value because I would just let you know right now. Current has already been declared. Oh, it's current. Okay, okay. Maybe current. Maybe current. I would just define like this. Okay. So if I'm using currency, so it's actually the select value that we'll be using for all the things. But if I'm using the currency dot value, it would be showing me the current value for this one, which would be USD. So I want to access this particular thing in our here. So now we got our current value in here. So to access it, I would like to use the backticks, which would be the best option, and the dollar. And what we want is our curve value. So now whatever I'm choosing, it would be the base value. As we see here, so the base value is USD again, but if I'm changing it to just a moment, just like a CAD or maybe anything, maybe CAD. Okay, so convert. See, the base value would be CAD now. So we got this one. So what we want is the values in the input field now. So we already are able to select this one. And this one is our input value. Now we have to access the output value. So now what I'm gonna use is like convert currency, and I'm gonna use the value of this one, currency dot value. So the whatever I'm using here, like if it's CAD, it's gonna be CAD. So what we want is like we are able to access this one already. So I want this particular value, whatever I'm choosing, to be here. So uh, so whatever we are choosing here, I want the value to be here. And if I'm accessing the first, suppose if I'm like accessing this console.log current dot data dot what was that, conversion rates, and if I'm accessing the convert cur, I would be getting the value now of the USD in CAD. See, 1.2747 is the value of the currency that we are having this, and I want this converted value 1.2747 in the output field. So our output dot value should be equal to this. I would just define it in a variable, maybe value, let value is equal to this, and I'm gonna define the value. But we also know that the value would change depending on the input. If I'm like having 2, like it should be multiplied by 2. So what we need is like a input dot value multiplied by value, and I would also see the console log output value now. So if I'm just using the convert console.log, it's log. Okay. So you could see that our value is like 1.2747. Are we okay? So we are able to get it here. So do we have whatever, if I'm putting like maybe euro, or where's euro? Okay, so it's working perfectly now, and we could also see in our console panel if like anything changes, like 0.814. So everything's working perfectly. Even if I'm changing the base value of this one, maybe if I just put it as 0, it should be 1. Yeah, so you could see that 1. But I don't want this to be selected. So whenever the input is selected, I don't want the borders to be seen. So where is the select button? So yeah, select when focused, the border should be 0. So is it 0? and the outline should be 0. I don't want the border to be 0 when focused. Maybe it doesn't look good. Yeah, it's perfect now. It's just the outline. It was just the outline. So okay, so everything's perfect. And the last thing which we need to define is like the swap button. So if I'm just pressing the swap add event listener, and if I'm just like clicking the swap, so how about like I would just define a swap function over here and swap. So here I'm gonna use a simple trick for it to like we just need its values to be swapped, and after the swapping, so the same processor the convert would vary. So since we want the values to be swapped, and so what I'm gonna use is like it's actually a very simple technique and it's very fun to do this too. The same thing, converted currency, and I've just copy paste because I'm not confident about my spellings. Okay, and it's value currency dot value. Okay, I'm gonna explain it to you. So what I'm using is like it's just the same thing as identifier swap has already been declared. Ah, okay, so it's swap actually. Yep. Okay. So if I'm like having a is equal to 5, b is equal to 6. So we do have a as 5 and b as 6. Now I want to swap these values. So what I'm gonna do is a comma b is equal to at the same time b comma a. Now if I'm accessing the value of a, you could see that it's 6 and b as 5. So we have just swapped the values of them both at the same time. This is the same logic I'm using here, and would just show you. And also whenever I'm like hovering on this one, I want it to be pointer cursor, so swap button cursor pointer. Yeah, it's perfect now. So whenever I'm pressing this button, these two should be swapped. So you could see that this swapped. I'm pressing it again, this swapped. Oh, I don't like the outline to be 0. Didn't I do this one? Swap button when focus, outline to be 0. Okay, is it? Okay, the outline, and we could see that these things, these two values are getting swapped, and also we want the here to be working in the same way, so we would just call the function again. So now our app is perfect, and I don't want the border of our container, so which is usually this. You can put it the border if you want, but if it's convert, I think it's working perfectly now. If I'm changing anything to maybe euros, I would just check if everything's working perfectly. And what if I swap? Okay, 1 euro is 1.2289. How about if I put it as CAD? Okay, 1 CAD is 0.7846 USD, and what if I press swap? 1 USD is 1.2747 CAD. So our app is perfect now. So if I just go to our press, so this was our starting and I press it, So we are here, and if I'm changing, so I need to change. I've defaulted with the same value, so but I didn't change it. If I change it, okay, and if I change it back, 1 USD is 1 point, and I also can change this one if I'm like using 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is how our app is working on the basis of web APIs, and you could see that we have used it in a very simple manner. And if you have any more doubts, please comment it in, and all the links for the Git and the web APIs, everything will be available. Please stay tuned to my next project, and in my next project I'm going to do a small navigation bar which would be very useful for designing websites. So please stay tuned, and please like, share and subscribe, and thank you very much for watching the video. Thank you.